You're not dreaming. It's okay. You can smack yourself as much as you want. You're awake. You're watching. You're listening. The New York Metropolitans, for the first time since 2015, are headed back to the Nlds. It is 12:53 a.m. I don't know when I'm posting this video, nor do I care. I'm on the cusp of crying for a third time, and before anyone goes out of their way to say, Wardy, why would you overreact that way? It's just a baseball game. Don't get so involved. You're literally getting crazy. It doesn't make any sense. Real Mets fans know what's up right now. We are choked up. We are taken back. We are jaw dropped. But most importantly, we are grateful. Today's a day that a lot of us Mets fans really haven't felt all that much as a Mets fan, and that is to be grateful to be a Mets fan. And I know that might seem like a silly statement, but knowing the history of this organization, knowing that we can literally count on our hand the greatest moments that the Mets have had basically in the organization, when looking at success and everything in between, that's what leads to this moment for Pete Alonso and for the Mets. As many of you guys saw, we were live, 40,000 strong total, absolutely insane in-game and post-game coverage, and I not only need to voice my further thoughts here, but I will also have my key stream highlights of my crazy reaction, everything between posted at some point tomorrow morning, and we will also have a live show later in the evening going over all the latest on our further reactions, taking live callers, and previewing the Philadelphia Phillies NLDS matchup. And I might cry as I'm doing this video, and that's okay, because it's okay to cry sometimes, especially when you're really happy. And what I have to break down to each and every one of you is exactly what every one of you went through the same emotion. This is why I told so many of you Mets fans to go out of your way to go to Citi Field for tonight's game in attendance, so that way, if you had a chance to actually be in the ballpark with all the fellow Mets fans there. I didn't get the chance to do that, but that's okay, because I was riding high with 40,000 strong at home, sitting in this chair and jumping out my seat with joy the way that I did. But everyone that went to Citi Field, congratulations on seeing Alonso do what he did in a dramatic, heroic fashion. Yeah, I would have loved to be there. And any Mets fans that were in Milwaukee, congratulations. My goodness, what a moment. When you look at the entire ball game from start to finish, this was one that had complete writing on the wall from the beginning. The Mets were going to lose. This was the second consecutive game where the Mets on the offensive end had nothing to show outside of Francisco Lindor for the most part for the entire time. It goes from Lindor being that leadoff batter in the first inning, trying to score that first run of the ball game, but to no avail. We see Lindor get on with a single later on in the ball game, to no avail. Lindor finds himself on base yet again, this time in the ninth inning, after the Mets go down 2-0, after Jose Butto gives up back-to-back home runs there that we saw to pinch hitter Bowers and then Frelick. And just like that, it felt like the nails in the coffin. I'd be lying if I sit here and sat with confidence saying that I thought the Mets were going to rally back. The same way that most of you Mets fans probably didn't think the boys were going to rally back. The same way we had this terrible gut feeling like it was 2019 Nationals implosion with Edwin Diaz and Kurt Suzuki in Game 1 of the doubleheader against the Atlanta Braves after the Mets rallied for that 6-3 lead with Brandon Nimmo's home run to right. Then we see Edwin blow it terribly there just for Lindor to then have the go-ahead, a game-winning 2-run shot there in the ninth inning. Lindor is the plate setter again as a true MVP, the true leader of this organization. The Mets have themselves runners on the corners there after Brandon Nimmo gets the Mets' first hit of the ball game, not named Francisco Lindor. And with all the pressure, everything's on the line, it is Polar Bear Pete Alonso stepping up to the plate. In that very moment, like most of you, I did not have instilled confidence that Alonso was going to do anything, let alone what he ended up doing. For Pete Alonso, who was not there the entire season, look at the baseline numbers. Yes, they're not terrible, but we all know Pete Alonso has had the most underwhelming season of his career when looking at high leverage, two-out situations, runners in scoring position, you name it. He has not been that guy that goes hand in hand with him being in a contract year. We learned the hard way, Pete Alonso not being able to handle the pressure, something that he's never dealt with before in his career to this magnitude. It's all up to him and potentially his final plate appearances as a New York Met, not knowing what's going to happen should the Mets drop this game. A lot of uncertainty heading into free agency play. But what does he do? He does what no man has ever done against Devin Williams in his major league career, and that is rip a opposite field home run off of Devin Williams. A 3-run shot gives the Mets a 3-2 lead. Jesse Winker, everyone's favorite former Brewer, just don't tell Brewers fans that. He gets dinked for a second time in the ball game, which I thought was hilarious. Imagine drilling Jesse Winker for a second time when you've already hit him 3 times over the past week. First was intentional. Second, which was in this ball game, wasn't. Third, you can definitely make the argument, if you will, but I'd imagine not so, considering it was a high leverage situation. Jesse ultimately scores after stealing a bag, what feels like his first stolen bag, as a matter of so, which is crazy to say. And he comes in to score, absolutely screaming his head off, slamming his helmet on the ground. Marte drives him in with an RBI single, and the Mets ultimately go on to win by a final score of 4-2. That game was not only monumental for the Mets as they now seek postseason play against the Phillies for the first time in their history, which is easily one of the best rivalries, if not the best rivalry in all the National League, in my humble opinion, when these two teams are at their best. I'm so excited for that series. You guys have no idea. But I'm coming at you calm, cool, and collected right now because I know I'm not going to get any sleep tonight, and I couldn't care less. And my mind is going to be running time and time again on Polar Bear Pete, doing what we all thought couldn't be done. And I was stepping up in the right moment, the right time, and getting that fastball he was hunting and looking for. And Devin Williams gave it right to him, right down the pipe. And that's all it took. Mets fans, we not only need to appreciate the run the Mets have had this season, but we need to come together as a community just like we have to this point and really rally around the troops here. The boys played a terrible baseball game on the offensive end for the first 8 innings, but it didn't matter. Because if you ain't first, you're last, right? And the boys were first in the end. And Pete Alonso not only rewrote his own history in Mets organization, but he has now completely changed the narrative and the dynamic on how Mets fans view him. We went from wanting Polar Bear in a lot of ways gone this offseason, depending on the fan you talk to now saying, all right, blank check, what's it going to be? This is a momentum builder for Alonso and for the Mets heading to Philly, as if they didn't have confidence enough to win in this fashion, in this dramatic fashion. This completely changes the landscape for the Mets and how they are going to be perceived in postseason play. And then you add in Kodai Senga's availability against the Phillies. Then you add in Jeff McNeil's potential return at some point, and you grasp the realization that this team is not only special, but this is certainly a Mets team that we're going to look back on for years to come and say, wow, the 2024 Mets really were an entertaining team. And oh my God, it's more than just that song by Jose Iglesias. I am not only jaw-dropped and floored and still taken back. It has not set in. You could pinch me, you could slap me, you could kick me. It doesn't matter. I still feel like I'm on the absolute high. I feel like I'm dreaming. And I'm so grateful that the Mets have made me feel this way. This is the first time in my Mets fandom covering the Mets over my past 3.5 years of here on YouTube where I've felt these genuine emotions over baseball games to this magnitude. Normally when we have our big reactions or our freakouts, it's after big signings of what could have been in Carlos Correa. Or, of course, going back to Francisco Lindor when everything started here on the platform. But not when it came to in-season or postseason play, because the Mets simply haven't had much success on that front since Steve Cohen became owner. Now we fast forward to 2024, first year David Stearns and Carlos Mendoza. Yeah, I'm going to go on a limb and say Mendoza probably deserves manager of the year over Pat Murphy after this one. David Stearns bests his old team that denied him access to talk to the Mets throughout the first 2 years in which Steve Cohen tried as he first became owner for the Mets. This is not only a full circle moment, but this is one for the record books. As Howie Rose had the best call imaginable on the radio, that will be ringing in my ears for years to come, rightfully so, the same way that I'm going to look back on this Mets season, regardless of what happens against the Phillies, and knowing that they are certainly a special group and something that we, us fans, can appreciate and be excited and look ahead about for years to come. Everybody, thank you all so much for the endless support in our post-game and in-game coverage. It means the absolute world to me. I can't even properly articulate and put in more words than what I can say right now is just how grateful I am for these moments because I'm getting to experience them all with each and every one of you. For those that don't know my backstory, I reside in Pennsylvania. I'm originally from Long Island, but I lived here most of my life. So I'm in Philly country, just over an hour out of Philly. So I'm praying that I can crack one of those games there if possible at some point in the series. But that's not the point I'm trying to make. I started this thing because I grew up with no friends that were really fans of the teams that I was a fan of. And the Mets, and then for hockey, I know I'm going to offend some of the Rangers, for football, Steelers, etc. I was always a sports buff from the time I could remember, or at least since a little kid. And I always wanted to voice my opinions and share my analysis and thoughts on them. And when that opportunity started to present itself and Steve Cohen became owner, little did I know what would unravel over the next 3.5 years into not only a tremendous platform here on YouTube and other platforms where I talk about the Mets for a living, but now where I can come together in a community with thousands and thousands of diehard Mets fan friends that I certainly appreciate each and every single one of you. Thank you guys. Thank you, Pete Alonso, for writing the script because all it took was one swing to make us all forget about the entire regular season. And if you're saying, Wardy, why is that? It's because this is what matters most. It doesn't matter if you have an underwhelming regular season. It matters if you show up when you're supposed to. And Pete Alonso did exactly that. I will see you all tomorrow for live stream coverage. You guys will have a highlight video seen in the morning as well. My further reactions throughout the entire in-game coverage, as I will crop it out probably already for my replay viewers for post-game coverage. Just thank you. Simply thank you. I'm not going to get any sleep, and once more, I don't care. Maybe I'm going to cry again. Sure. Why the hell not? Let's effing go Mets, baby. I'll see you all for our big live show. Get set. That big matchup in the NLDS against, yes, the Philadelphia Phillies. Peace out, everybody.